Chapter 3060. I don't think he's pretending. Emolienne shook her head and said, if he was pretending, then he could have hidden behind the holy nun when she mutated. I noticed his expression at that time. When he saw Nye Yaoguang mutate, he was more surprised than anyone else. From this, it can be seen that Mi Yen probably didn't expect this. When a person encounters a special event, their most realistic reaction will not be overlooked. Emolienne recalled the situation on the Duchun River and said with certainty, at that time, he subconsciously fought with the corpse crocodiles summoned by the holy nun. Furthermore, with Mi Yan's arrogant and cold temperament, he should disdain to wallow in the mire with the holy nun. I think, Emolienne said softly, he probably doesn't know. Moreover, he should be very conflicted right now. He must feel that something has happened to the sanctuary, so he rested for 3 days. Firstly, it's to wait for the other people stranded on the Duchun River to come. Secondly, he will definitely send people to the sanctuary first to find out what's going on. Aba's eyes brightened slightly. Hearing this, he nodded and said, Lien smart. Being praised by his wife, Crown Prince Lien, whose tail was itching to fly, nodded with a smile and said, that's natural. Your husband, I, am extraordinarily intelligent. Then what should we do now? Wait and see. Prince Mo squeezed her small hand and indicated for her to look at the tent at the side. A priest lifted the tent curtain and walked out quickly. He nodded at the two of them awkwardly and then left quickly. Holy Sun Mi Yen also walked out. Seeing the two of them still standing outside, he couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Then, he smiled awkwardly and said, we've been delayed for quite a while on the road this time. I asked Radiance to return to the sanctuary to take a look. I don't know if there's any change in the mystic realm. Emolienne winked at Jojo. The latter nodded knowingly. With a cold expression, he said in a stiff voice, Holy Sun, please do as you wish. The saint snorted and said, let's rest. Aba glanced at his back and turned to ask Prince Mo, what's wrong with him? His face was still fine when he came out, but now it had turned sour. Did he not want to see Sir Jojo? Emolienne stifled a chuckle. He shook his head and said without batting an eyelid, the Holy Sun will feel uncomfortable inside when he sees us being so sweet. Why? Think about it. He's an old bachelor who has been single for hundreds of years. How comfortable can he be when he sees us tormenting his nerves? When Sir Jojo heard this, he nodded his head seriously. That's true. She paused and then said, then I'll try not to appear in front of him in the future. At this moment, Holy Sun Mi Yen, who was sitting in the tent, almost spilled the tea that he had just poured out. Who are you calling an old bachelor? Holy Sun Mi Yen gritted his teeth and stood up furiously. He flung his sleeves and walked out of the tent. He lifted the tent flap and poked his head out to take a look. There was no sign of that hateful couple. Standing in front of someone else's tent and calling him an old bachelor without the slightest scruple, only that wicked couple would do such a thing. Holy Sun Mi Yan's handsome face darkened. He slammed down the tent flap and walked in while panting with rage. He decided not to say a word to this couple tomorrow. Seeing them annoyed him. Chapter 3061. Aba naturally didn't know what Holy Sun Mi Yen was thinking. After she was carried back to her tent by Emolienne, she slept until the middle of the night. Suddenly, she was awakened by a familiar voice. Master, 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 ah. This demonic voice was her tree. It was her Chocho. Chocho was finally moving. The little fellow flipped over and sat up, her large movement instantly startling Crown Prince Mo, who was beside her, awake. What's wrong, Jojo? Prince Mo also sat up. A candle lit up in the corner of the tent, illuminating the little fellow's face. He originally thought that she was having a nightmare. Seeing that she looked normal now, he was slightly relieved. He asked softly, what's wrong, Jojo? Chocho spoke. Aba blinked and tugged at his sleeve. Set up a defensive barrier. Okay. Emolienne waved her hand, and a defensive barrier was drawn outside the tent. The two of them then hid inside Paradise Planet. Looking at the lush trees, green mountains, and clear waters of the star sector, Lord Jojo breathed a sigh of relief. She had been on tenterhooks for the past 2 days, not knowing what had happened in the star sector. Cho-Cho! Master, master, master! Cho-Cho's screams resounded through the entire space. Those who didn't know would think that something had happened to the little fellow. Arbor expressionlessly walked towards the source of the sound. From afar, she saw that strange-looking tray ant jumping under a peach tree in front of her. It looked like it was having an epileptic seizure. It couldn't stop dancing. Qiao Mu gazed at it exasperatedly before looking up at her husband. Emo Lien chuckled. Reaching out, he picked her up and walked quickly to the little tree dancing crazily. What happened, Cho-Cho? Calm down. Master, Cho-Cho can't calm down, master. Cho-Cho suddenly turned around. Just as it was about to complain to its little master, it saw its little master's short figure. Cho-Cho couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Ah, master, why is it like this? How did you become like this? Who is it? Who did this to you when Cho-Cho wasn't around? Cho-Cho will definitely avenge master. Wah wah wah. While the little tray ant was roaring, the little dirt lump, the little water droplet, and the rest of the little ones also swarmed towards her like a swarm of bees. They all gathered around their little master's tiny body to surround her. Sir Jojo stared expressionlessly at the tree that was howling like a ghost. After it finished howling for a while, he said with a stoic face, "Shut up." Everyone was speechless. Why, my Joe? A red shadow flashed through the crowd and quickly arrived in front of Arbor. He reached out and snatched her away. Holding her in his arms, he said, "Wow, Jojo, how did you become so small?" She was so small and adorable. Shichen smiled as he looked her up and down. What kind of strange talisman did you use? No. Sir Jojo tried his best to maintain a stern expression. He waved his arms and legs. Put her down. Prince Mo, who had his little wife snatched away in a moment of carelessness, hurriedly snatched his wife back. Holding her in his arms, he took a few steps back and looked at the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal opposite him with a wary expression. Go and carry your own wife. These words were definitely hurtful. Everyone present was single. Not to mention a wife, they hadn't even seen a strand of her hair. Dao Wuji, who had had many wives in the past, felt that his heart had been pierced enough. Chapter 3062. Master. The sapling hastily called out again. It propped up its sapling body and pattered over to Qiao Mu. It cried out tearfully, "Master, Cho-Cho might be dying soon." Nonsense. Look, look, Little Ball's body has mutated. Master, look. Little Ball has an eye on its body. It's so scary, so scary, so scary. The little guy was like a demon again. He kept saying the words, "so scary," his voice lingering in everyone's ears. Arbor was really annoyed by his shouting. He clapped his hands and hit him on the head. Shut up. Master. Little Ball looked at her pitifully and straightened his body. Master Jojo's height now, was not even as tall as Little Tree. Little Tray Ant had an eye on its trunk. It was black and white, and it looked really creepy. No wonder Little Ball was screaming for help as if the sky was falling. This thing did look quite scary. Master, what do we do? Is Cho-Cho about to die? Little Tray Ant started to cry as he spoke. He looked at his little master with misty eyes and a pitiful expression. He won't die. Arbor looked at him expressionlessly. Then, he pulled Little Tray Ant to his side and leaned closer to study the eye. Jojo. Emo Lien hurriedly reached out and pulled Little Tray Ant to her side. Her expression was serious as she said, "Be careful." They didn't know what the hell this thing was. It actually grew on Little Ball's trunk. It was as if it had grown in Little Ball's body from the beginning. Right now, it was peacefully closing its eye. There was a faint light in its eyes, and it looked at them with a scary look. Cho-Cho, this thing makes people panic. The little water droplet shuffled its small body and retreated behind Xiao Mu and Emolien step by step. Master, has little ball mutated? I won't. Abba narrowed his eyes and stared at that eye for a long time. He couldn't help but hit his little head. What's wrong? Emolien quickly reached out and grabbed her little hand. I think. Abba tilted his little head and looked at the eye on Chochio's body. He thought carefully and said, I think I recognize it. Huh? Little Tree was a little excited and hurriedly asked Abba, Master Silver, you recognize it? What is it? Do you know? Mag-Iris, Mag-Iris. Abba murmured and could not help but hit his little head. I think I've seen it somewhere before. Really, Master? Little Tree looked at her hopefully and asked, Then do you have a way to take this ugly thing off my body? Xiao Mu shook her head with a stoic expression. My intuition tells me that you did this yourself. What? The little tree Chochio's black bean-like eyes immediately rippled with steam. Master dissed Little Ball. Master said that Little Ball did this himself. Did this mean that Chochio had sucked in this strange eye on its own? Impossible. Little Ball didn't remember anything like this at all. Wah wah wah, wah wah wah. Little Ball suddenly fell to the ground and rolled around shamelessly. Little Ball can't live anymore. Master doesn't love Little Ball at all. Chapter 3063. Sob sob sob, Chochio has eyes. Xiao Mu was exasperated as she looked at this little thing that was lying on the ground and fooling around. She glanced at it exasperatedly. The ground is so cold. Don't you feel uncomfortable rolling around? Chochio doesn't feel uncomfortable. Chochio only feels pain all over, and it's so unbearable everywhere. The little tray ant wailed as it rolled around Xiao Mu's feet, rolling back and forth. Abba looked down at it helplessly. Get up first. Let me think about how to solve this. Master, you really have a way to solve this eye on my body. Chochio sat up and looked hopefully at its little master. For some reason, as long as its master said he knew something, the little tray ant felt that its little master definitely had the ability to solve it. The little tray ant Chochio had such blind faith in its little master. Abba waved at her and simply sat down on a stone bench under the peach tree. The little tray ant Chochio hurriedly trotted over with a fawning expression. Master, have you thought of anything? The little master said it recognized this eye and even knew its name, so it must have really seen it before. Abba thought carefully for a while, then looked up and down at the eye for a long time before saying mildly, This should be a tree seed. What? Chochio squealed, then shook its head like a rattledrum. Impossible, impossible. Abba didn't give it a chance to continue deceiving itself and said mildly, No tree seed can hurt you. You know that. You must have felt that this tree seed was useful, so you sucked it in. Chochio, Master, what kind of expression is that? Is it really appropriate for you to look at Chochio with such disdain? Abba looked at it mildly. It's especially appropriate. She could now guarantee that this tree seed was sucked in by Chochio, who had courted death. And it had been sucked in through her conscious. So, she vaguely felt a sense of déjà vu. He couldn't quite remember where he had gotten this tree, but he could still vaguely recall the name, Magic Eye. Little Tree looked at her pitifully. Master Silver, there's really no way to save Chochio. Chochio now felt that the half-dead Renner's eye on its body, which was rolling its eyes, was truly frightening. It could not even accept looking at it, much less going out to meet others in the future. Sob. Sob. Master, think of a way, think of a way. Little Tree hugged her and wailed loudly. She felt particularly miserable and pitiful. There was actually such a thing growing on her body. Just looking at it made her feel disgusted. Is this the reason why I lost contact with you these past few days? Chochio nodded vigorously. Master, it's all because of these eyes. When I realized that something was wrong, the entire star field was no longer under my control. This demonic eye was truly surprising. Arbor reached out a finger and boldly stroked that eye on Little Tree's body. That single eye with distinct black and white blinked quickly. The white of the eye rolled up, and the dim light swept across Arbor deeply. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Only then did everyone heave a sigh of relief. Miss Chow's hand had reached out extremely quickly, and no one had been able to stop her. Chapter 3064. Therefore, they were really shocked. At this moment, everyone was looking at this little girl with disapproving gazes. Truly too unreliable. How could he be so bold and reckless? Wasn't she afraid that this supercilious person would open its eyes and swallow her small hand? Evidently, Arbor didn't think that this weird-looking supercilious person in front of her would attack her at all. In fact, after her small hand reached out to stroke it, she could still feel this little tree's jubilant mood. The little stoic pursed her lips and glanced at Chocho, who was still lying on the ground hugging her leg. "Get up. Master, Master. Chocho thinks that Chocho can still be saved. Master, save Chocho, save Chocho." The little stoic chuckled. "Since you created it yourself, you have to take good care of it in the future." Chocho stared flabbergasted at its little master. Wah wah, wah, little master didn't love it anymore. Little master really didn't love it anymore. Not only was little master dissing it now, but she was also saying such resolute words to it. Wah wah wah. Little master, ah. All right. Arbor looked at it expressionlessly and said, "Get up first." "Won't get up, Chocho won't get up. If master still doesn't save Chocho, Chocho won't get up for the rest of my life. Then continue lying down." The little stoic turned around and broke into a run. "We're busy outside, so we're going out first." Wah! Chocho let out an earth-shattering wail and pounced on Arbor's leg. "Master, ah! Save Chocho, save Chocho." Arbor looked at this little guy with a dark expression. Why did she feel that this lousy child was so funny? Emolien also looked at it speechlessly. Although Chocho's usual behavior was a bit unreliable, it had never been as anxious and uneasy as today. It could even be said that it was fretful. "Master." "All right." Arbor picked it up from the ground and said earnestly, "Don't look down on this little tree. Look, it's now growing on your trunk. It's like you have an extra eye." The little tray ant stared at its little master, flabbergasted. "Master, master, if you have an extra eye, wouldn't you become a monster?" Arbor pursed his lips and glanced at it with disdain. "You're a tree that has become a spirit. You can jump, run, and sing. You've been a monster for a long time." Everyone was speechless. Ha 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 ha. Dao Wuji laughed out loud. Damn, listening to the conversation between the little girl and the tree, why did it feel so funny? The little tray ant exclaimed and was about to continue howling. Arbor pressed down on its mouth. "All right, think about it. From now on, you'll have another little brother. Isn't that great?" Chocho looked at her with tears in its eyes. "Master, is there really no way to save him?" Arbor's mouth twitched. "To be honest, it's quite difficult to save him. Look at this white-eyed wren, he's already fused with your wood spirit's original source. It can be said that he's living by attaching himself to you and hasn't offended you or provoked you. You can't dig him out and let him die for no reason, right? We'll get used to it when we see it, ha." Arbor rubbed Chocho's tray ant head hard. "Don't be afraid. Master is here." Chocho drooped its little head and looked listless. Chapter 3065. Chocho. Arbor wanted to tease this little fellow, so he took out a pill from his inner world and handed it to Chocho. "Here, this is Master's new spirit intensification pill. It's good for you. In the future, you don't need to chew on that tough spirit jade anymore. With the spirit intensification pill's assistance, you can advance faster in the future." Chocho rolled and crawled up from the ground, hastily reaching out to take the spirit intensification pill from Little Master's hand. Blinking its eyes, it asked, Master, then what should I do in the future? What do you mean, what to do? Chocho forced a bitter expression and looked at the little stoic tearfully. There's an eye on my stomach. It pointed at the magic eye tree species on its tree trunk that was rolling its eyes. I'll definitely be laughed at to death if I walk out. Abba coughed lightly and took out a small red doo-doo from his inner world, beckoning Chocho over. Chocho hesitated, feeling like something bad would happen if it walked over. Seeing its hesitation, Abba couldn't resist giving it a sidelong glance. Hurry over. Oh. Chocho shuffled over to Sir Jojo and its eyes swiveled. Master, what do you want to do? Master wants to make you a small garment. This way, it can cover the white eye on your stomach. Chocho! Exclamation point. Its branch pointed at its own tree trunk, then pointed at the large red garment in Abba's hand, and it let out an earth-shattering shriek. Master, you want you to wear this? Cough. Emolien couldn't resist coughing softly. Jojo, Holy Child Mien is walking towards our tent. Okay, hurry and leave. Abba shook the small red doo-doo on his body and helped Chocho wrap it around the tree trunk. He patted its head and said with satisfaction, Looks good. You earned Chocho. This was originally meant for my child. I'll let you wear it first. Child? Everyone couldn't resist looking at her simultaneously. It turned out that Sir Jojo had already thought this far ahead. Was she already secretly sewing children's clothes? Abba's little hand paused. He raised his hand expressionlessly and patted Chocho's little head. All right, you're a boy. You have to be strong. Don't make a scene and roll around on the ground. Chocho lowered his head and looked at his little red doo-doo. Although the whites of her eyes were covered, what about the crimson-red undergarment? Would it be too much? It was a mistake. But this should have been personally made by Master, right? Looking at the crooked stitches and the black lotus embroidered on it, it was obvious that this was the Master's signature work. It's better to wear it. I don't want to destroy Master's heart. Emolien held the little fellow's hand as they stepped out of Paradise Planet and back into the tent. She reached out and hugged her, rubbing her head against the top of her head. Jojo, you might laugh at me if I tell you. The little guy lowered his head and rubbed his toes on the ground. I feel like I missed out on too many things in the past. In this lifetime, I want to experience all of my life's experiences. I don't want to leave behind any regrets. Okay. Emolien reached out and cupped her little face. He lowered his head and gazed deeply at her, smiling slightly. You definitely won't miss out on anything again. Crown Prince, Crown Princess. The moment Holy Sun Mien lifted the curtain, he saw the two of them looking at each other like they were abusing dogs. He was immediately stuffed with a mouthful of dog food, feeling stifled and having a heart attack. Chapter 3066. It was him who was blind. He came in for no reason to make his presence known, but in the end, he was forcefully stuffed with dog food. Ah, poo, poo, poo. Holy Sun Mien kept a straight face and tried his best to keep a straight face as he said aloofly, The two of you, I have something important to discuss with you. Please come out. After saying that, Holy Sun Mien turned around and walked out, slamming down the tent's curtain with a crash. Chow Chow raised her head and looked at her husband. What happened to him? The old illness of a century-old lonely old man flared up. Crown Prince Mo whispered into her ear before sneaking a kiss on her small cheek with a smile. He then pulled her small hand and walked out of the tent. Chow Chow, when we return to the capital, it will be almost time for the wedding. What present do you want? Sir Jojo reached out and gently placed her hands on his cheeks. She looked at him with shining eyes and said, How about a little Lien Lien who looks exactly like you? Ha ha ha. Prince Mo guffawed. Holy Sun Mien, who was sitting in the tent next door, could hear the two's hearty laughter. He pursed his lips and muttered, laughing for no reason. Duan Yu sat across from Holy Sun Mien with a teacup in his hand and asked with a grin, Is Lord Holy Sun jealous? Why would I be jealous? Holy Sun Mien irritably retorted. When he looked up and saw Emolienne walking in with Arbor in her arms, he coughed and said, "All right, since everyone is here, let's talk business. It's not a good idea for us to keep waiting here. I plan to organize a few people and head to the mouth of Dukhun River to search for the others. What do you guys think?" "I have no objections," Mu Xingchen said aloofly. "I also have no objections." Duan Yu shrugged. "Right now, let's try to piece together a list of the people who aren't present and see how many people we need to search for." "There's no need to search for my little companions," Abba said aloofly. "I've already contacted them. They'll arrive around this evening." Holy Sun Mi Yen turned to glance at her and nodded. "Then we don't need to care about the people from Seekong Planet. The people from Fire Smelting City and Ice Sealed City were also settled. The rest of you, take a look and see how many of your companions are not here yet." Everyone is talking at once. Holy Sun Mi Yen draws up a list of names. When he is done, he puts down the pen and blows the ink on the paper dry. According to the list, there are still more than 10 people from Flying Sword Academy, Blue Ocean Academy, and Hong Mansion Academy who haven't arrived yet. In addition, Mu Roxuan of the Mu family is still missing. "Miss Jojo, are you going to look for Miss Mu?" Abba glanced at Holy Sun Mi Yen coldly. "The world is so big. Where can you find her? The matters of the Mu family have nothing to do with me. Don't look for me." This Holy Sun really touched a sore spot. Emolienne glanced at him dryly. "Holy Sun, we aren't even on the same team. Where is young Master Mu?" Holy Sun Mi Yen looked at Mu Xingchen again. Mu Xingchen stealthily peeked at Arbor as if he wanted to say something. "Eldest brother, go look for her if you want." "No need to look at me," Arbor said aloofly. "Lien and I will not participate in the search and rescue." After saying that, he hopped down from Emolienne's lap and stomped out with his back straight, slamming the curtain behind him. Mu Xingchen sighed. He also knew that the knot between Jojo and the Mu family couldn't be resolved so quickly. Everything could only be done slowly. "I'll participate," Mu Xingchen said. Chapter 3067. Lady Jojo returned to her tent, kicked off her shoes, and climbed onto the soft couch. She sat there cross-legged, unmoving like a mountain. "Jojo." Emolienne lifted the curtain, walked in, and sat down next to her. "Jojo, are you unhappy?" "No." "Are you angry with Big Brother?" "I'm not angry with him." Abba sat up straight, looking at Emolienne with a straight face. "I know. He's lived with that mother and daughter since he was young. It's impossible for him to change his mind so quickly. Moreover," Arbor said mildly, "he was raised by that woman. After so many years together, he should have some feelings for her. That he can't let go of his sister shows that my big brother values relationships. Why should I blame him?" Emolienne leaned closer to her, and reached out to pull her into his arms. "My Jojo is so sensible." Arbor tilted her head and glanced at him. She couldn't help but secretly find it funny. This man always used the tone of coaxing a child to coax her. "Since you're not angry, let's find Big Brother for a meal later." Although Big Brother promised Holy Sun to go with her to search and rescue at Duchun River, I'm sure he's feeling uneasy right now. "He's worried that you're angry." Arbor put down her 2 short legs and nodded. Emolienne chuckled, and hugged her onto his lap. "Jojo is so obedient." Holy Sun Mi Yen watched as Arbor and Emolienne left after sitting for a while. He couldn't help but turn to look at the others helplessly. "Then what does everyone say? I think we should split into 3 teams, and concentrate on searching for them once. It'll be good if we can find them. If we can't, we'll rest for a day after returning, and then set off." "Okay." No one had any objections, and nodded in agreement. "Eldest young master, why hasn't your second young master arrived yet?" Holy Sun turned to look at eldest Qin, and asked with a puzzled expression. Omega Kotoku's cultivation was one of the more prominent ones among the group. At this moment, even the few seniors from the royal school, such as Dao and Turnbull, had already arrived at the campsite. It would be unreasonable if they did not see the Omega Kotoku. Duan Yu involuntarily snorted when he heard this. Second young master? There's no need to wait. Eldest young Sir Qin's gaze swept over Duan Yu as he asked in confusion, Has your Highness Prince Chen met my younger brother before? Not only have we seen them, but we've also chased them away. Everyone looked hesitant. Your good little brother rushed to the Red River Canyon before us and caught Jojo. Duan Yu said apathetically, If we hadn't chased after them, perhaps Jojo would still be suffering in your younger brother's hands right now. How is that possible? Qin Xian could not help being shocked. Is what you said true? Absolutely true, absolutely not false. Duan Yu coldly replied, Second young master's actions truly make one's hair stand on end. Eldest young Sir Qin, as his biological older brother, you still need to properly discipline him in the future. Qin Xian was at a loss for words, and he did not know how to respond. Seeing Duan Yu stand up, Qin Xian also stood up and cupped his hands. Apologies, Your Highness, I didn't know there was such a thing. Then does Your Highness know where my younger brother went? Duan Yu turned around, and his pair of chilly peach blossom eyes gazed deeply at Qin Xian. He escaped using a transportation talisman matrix. Eldest young sir, you really need to restrain your younger brother's actions. Mu Xingchen also said indignantly. Chapter 3068. If it weren't for Prince Mo and His Highness Prince Chan arriving in time, who knows what would have happened? Apologies. Qin Xian awkwardly glanced at Duan Yu and Mu Xingchen. I will definitely explain this matter clearly to him. Duan Yu parted the curtain with one hand. When he bent down to leave, he glanced back at eldest young Sir Qin with a spurious smile. How confident do you think he is in blocking Emolien and me by himself? Next time? You might not even have the chance to see him again. Duan Yu meaningfully glanced at Qin Xian before tossing the curtain aside and swaggering off. Qin Xian felt a chill run down his spine. In other words, did Duan Yu hold back a bit this time? Otherwise, perhaps his second brother wouldn't even have the chance to escape using the transportation talisman matrix? When he thought of this, Qin Xian couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He stood up and cupped his hands at the Holy Sun. Apologies, Holy Sun. Our Qin estate won't be participating in this operation. The Holy Sun nodded. Knowing that he was in a hurry to return and contact his second young sir, he tactfully didn't insist on eldest young Sir Qin staying behind to participate in the search and rescue. Then let's split into teams. The Holy Sun said to everyone present, We'll set off early tomorrow morning. Okay. At 10 o'clock in the evening, just as the little stoic said, Qi Xuanxuan's group, Doya, Hidden Flower, and Situ Yi all arrived at the campsite. Aside from them, several students from Blue Ocean Academy and Flying Sword Academy also came. Madame Goen limped over with the support of the robust man, Huang Yang. Her complexion was still a bit pale, probably because she suffered a minor injury in the Du Chunjiang. It's good that everyone is fine. The saint looked at the crowd that had just arrived and nodded. Go wash up first and rest for a while. Come out for a meal later. Thank you. Madame Goen was about to cry. She felt that she was simply unlucky. After drifting in the Du Chunjiang for so long, she was about to rot and stink from soaking. Originally, as a level 12 great spiritual master, it wasn't a problem for her to not eat for several days. But now, she urgently needed to replenish her energy and strength. It was truly too bitter. Jojo, you've soaked me so much that I'm turning green. Qi Xianxian jogged over and pulled her hand. Luckily, we have water, meat, and steamed buns in our inner world. At least I won't starve myself. Abba couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He looked at her in amusement. No wonder you haven't lost weight. Bubbles even gained weight. What? Did I gain weight again? Qi Xianxian quickly pinched her cheeks and exclaimed, I'm almost catching up to Fatty. Alright, go wash up first. You're stinking and you're still holding on to Jojo. Everyone was noisy as they each found an empty tent and went to take care of themselves. Little junior sister, let's talk after I clean it up. Liang Qingqing was also disgusted by herself. She quickly waved at Jojo and went into the tent. Xiao Mu swept her gaze over them, and when she saw that everyone was present, she relaxed. Now, she wasn't even bothered by how everyone could recognize her at a glance. In any case, she knew that no matter what she changed into, she would still be recognized at a glance by people with her stoic face. Jojo. Eldest young Qin slowly walked towards her and nodded slightly at Emolian. Let's talk, okay? Chapter 3069. Arbor nodded. She didn't have much resistance towards Qin Xian. The little fellow looked up at Emolian, who nodded slightly at her. Go on. The two circled around the crowd and strolled to the cliff behind the tent area. Lady Qiao Qiao jumped onto a crimson-red rock at the edge of the cliff. She looked at the vast expanse of rock in the distance. There was only a meandering stream of crimson water in the narrow canyon. It flowed along the shallow ditch and gradually extended into the distance. Apologies. It's not your fault. You've become like this? Is it because of him? Arbor gazed into the distance and sighed softly. Sort of. Qin Xian glanced at her. Jojo, did something happen between you and RXIN that we don't know about? No. Arbor turned to meet his eyes. Nothing happened. I can't give him any emotional response. If possible, she wanted to stay far away from this person for the rest of her life. It would be best if they never met or had any contact with each other. I killed his doppelganger. Your father sent someone to kill me and beat me to the point of vomiting blood. Even if we're even now, I won't continue to pursue the matter. Second young master and I will go our separate ways. Whatever we were in the past will remain the same in the future. We will always be strangers. This identity will never change. Eldest young Master Qin gazed deeply at her. Xiao Qiao, do you know that sometimes your heart is scarily colder than anyone else's? I just don't want to have too many inexplicable connections with irrelevant people. In this life, you are you, and I am me. Wasn't it good to be strangers and not owe each other anything? The night wind blew through her hair. She was a small person, standing on the tall, cold, red rock, looking into the distance at the valley below. In the depths of his eyes, there was a coldness that could not be melted, as well as indifferent and emotionless. I will have a good talk with second younger brother. A stream of water shot out of Arbor's hand and turned into an ice arrow in the blink of an eye. It landed on the opposite rock with a whoosh. She looked at the rock that was so big that two people couldn't even wrap their arms around it, and it suddenly crumbled into powder in front of her. Qiao Mu's lips curled up. Things are different now. Just because it was like that in the past doesn't mean that it will be like that in the future. We're strangers to begin with, so there's no need to act like we're close. I hope that the next time we meet, second young master will turn a blind eye to me. That would be the greatest wish of my life. They were no longer related to each other. These 4 words sounded simple, but it was heart-wrenching to hear them. Night fell. A cold wind blew across a lonely mountain range. A small flame lit up in front of Qin Xian. On the communication jade talisman in her hand, faint words were floating. Xian. A man in plain clothes with long hair draped over his shoulders and a face so gentle that it was almost impossible to tell if he was a man or a woman, slowly walked towards him. Her palm-sized face without heavy makeup was abnormally pale. Why did you choose to retreat? Qin Xian coldly curled the corners of her lips and looked down at that person. This time, I want to use my patience to influence her. There was no use in forcing her. That little fellow was a tough nut to crack. Forcing her would only result in a life-and-death struggle, with both sides suffering losses. It wouldn't benefit him at all. Have nothing to do with you? Young Master Omega Kotoka's lips curled into a faint sneer. Don't even think about it. Chapter 3070. Wow, Today's weather is finally clearing up. As soon as Qi Xianxian lifted the tent flap, she stretched lazily and called out to the little fatty in the distance. "Little fatty, what are you busy with?" The little fatty turned around in front of the propped-up pot with a spatula in his hand. He waved it at them. "Hey, this is the nourishing porridge I cooked early in the morning. It's done, so you can come over and eat." I've been floating on Du Chun River for 2 days. It really makes me want to throw up every day. It's great to have hot porridge to eat. Qi Xianxian quickly walked up and took out a small bowl with a grin. "Where are Jojo and the others? They haven't woken up yet?" "They woke up early. They went to scout nearby." Cough. Qi Xianxian almost choked on the hot porridge. "What time?" No, they just went to observe the terrain nearby." When the little fatty looked up and saw Liang Qingqing and the others coming out of their tents one after another, he quickly greeted them enthusiastically. "Miss Qingqing, Brother Situ, come and eat porridge. I cooked quite a lot." "Little fatty, you're truly becoming more virtuous." Qi Xianxian carelessly touched little fatty's chubby face, causing little fatty's face to turn red. When Abba returned, she saw everyone eating happily around the pot. Her eyes brightened, and she quickly ran to their side. When Qi Xianxian and the others saw the little stoic returning, they hastily made room for her. "Jojo, what are we doing today?" "Nothing, we're just resting in the camp." "That's great." Situ-yi couldn't resist ridiculing. "Soaking on Du Chun River is unbearable. Resting for a day is also good." "Alright, why were you guys in the river for so long?" When Abba said this, she felt that something was amiss. Because she was especially fast in the river and could travel more than 500 kilometers in a day, she ran far away by herself, and Emolian, Duan Yu, and the others tore open the void to chase after her. Both of these situations were too abnormal. On the other hand, Qi Xianxian, Situ-yi, and the others drifted over at a normal speed. "Hey, don't mention it." Speaking of this, the little fatty couldn't help but want to complain. "We can't even King differentiate between north, south, east, and west in the river. Who knows if we drifted in the wrong direction in the beginning?" Fortunately, we managed to return safely. Situ-yi smiled and said, "By the way, Jojo, are you guys early? How long have you been here?" Arbor blinked. "He came a day or 2 earlier than you." She didn't want to hurt them, so she arrived at Shaoli village early in the morning of the 2nd day of drifting. "Jojo, where are Prince Amo and Prince Chen?" "They went to a further place to explore." The little fellow pursed her lips. "I felt bored, so I came back first." Giant rocks were everywhere, and they were either black or crimson. How could Xiao Mu have the patience to scout the path? In any case, there was Shichen accompanying the two of them to tinker with the path, so she did not need Sir Qiao Qiao's assistance from the side. "Jojo." Qi Xianxian held her little hand and said with a smile, "When we were soaking in the river, I thought I would never see you again." "How could that be?" Arbor involuntarily cast her a glance. "You're full of nonsense." "Aya, don't tell me, when we were soaking in the boundless water, I also felt guilty." Liang Qingqing said with a chuckle. Before she could finish speaking, they heard a loud roar in the distance. Everyone's faces froze when they heard the sound, and they stood up in unison. They saw smoke and dust billowing over from the distance. Chapter 3071. Xiao Mu hastily stood taller, and she saw the 2 clumsy giant bears charging towards the campsite while leaving a deep pit in their wake, one higher than the other, lower than the other. Many people were startled by this boorish roar and hastily ran out of their tents. They couldn't help but be shocked when they saw it. One of the bears with brown fur flattened a tent with a stomp. It stomped over the dilapidated tent and swung its fan-sized paw forcefully, immediately sending the slowest runner flying. Pfft. That runner spat out a mouthful of blood and crashed into a large tree nearby. He directly rolled to the ground and immediately lost consciousness. Abba's eyes widened slightly. Where did these 2 bears come from? Judging from their combat strength, they're at least level 10 spirit beasts. Situ-E creased his brows. A level 10 spirit beast's combat strength couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as a level 10 great spiritual master. To put it bluntly, 2 level 10 great spiritual masters might not even be able to kill a level 10 spirit beast. This kind of disparity was mainly due to the fact that spirit beasts were more powerful. Prepare for battle. Everyone gathered forward one after another, each of them summoning their own weapons from their own consciousness, ready for battle. Go! Lady Jojo swung her small arms and calmly stood on a rock. She gazed at her little companions, and after she gave the order, they all executed their movement techniques and flew over. The Seacone Planet battle team was very experienced in group battles. After charging over, they each took up their respective positions. Duanmu Qing used the power of his wooden vines to wrap around one of the giant bear's thick legs. Little Fatty, Lu Yu, and the others then followed suit and freely sent their spiritual energy towards the giant bear. Qi Xianxian stayed behind to launch a sneak attack. As she fought, she turned her head and saw the little stoic expressionlessly standing far away from them, calmly observing the situation. She couldn't resist covering her face and laughing involuntarily. The stoic face, this swindler, when he ordered go just now, it turned out that he wanted them to go. Since the Seacone Planet battle team went up to take on one of the bears, Situ-E and the others went to attack the other one. Fire Smelting City and Ice Sealed City added up to more than 10 people. Dealing with a black bear was a simple matter. Yu Xiu rushed over with a stream of fire. Everyone rushed forward in a flurry, and all kinds of spiritual energy smashed towards the unlucky bear's body. The big bear arched its body and couldn't help but bear the attacks of the crowd. There was a slight pained expression on its face. Stop! The little stoic's icy voice abruptly rang out. As a result, it was as if someone had pressed the pause button. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to look in her direction with a blank expression. The little fellow had short arms and legs, so everyone had to look down to see her. The little stoic's face was expressionless as she pattered towards them with small steps. Chen Baojia and the others, who had been chased by the 2 bears, were now sitting on the ground, panting heavily. Seeing Situ-E and the others stop, Chen Baojia couldn't help but cry out unwillingly, "Why did you stop? Kill them quickly. Who knows how many people in our team have been harmed by these 2 damned bears?" However, no one paid attention to her. Everyone dispersed to the sides in an orderly manner, opening up a path that could allow the short legs to pass through. Sir Jojo stood in front of that black bear. Chapter 3072. Standing in front of this large and burly bear, this tiny person was simply like a small bean sprout fluttering in the wind. She was so frail that she was pitiful. The little fellow raised her small hand and expressionlessly patted the bear's thick thigh. Everyone couldn't help but look at her with a dark expression. They couldn't understand this child's actions. Previously, she was the one who told them to attack, and now, she was also the one who told them to stop. Jojo's thoughts seemed to be a bit hard to guess. The blue spirit snake emperor that was coiled around the little fellow's hand and playing dead all day suddenly moved. It slightly raised its small snake head and bared its fangs at the large bear in front of it. This blue spirit snake emperor was a peak-level spirit beast. Any beast below a divine beast could only crawl in front of it. When the bear saw such a thin and frail little snake, its hair stood on end in fright. It stealthily retreated a step, and its body even arched. The little stoic expressionlessly walked forward a few more steps. Duanmu Qing was about to grab her small hand and indicate for her not to come too close. After all, this little fellow was currently a weakling. The little stoic waved her hand at him and pattered to the large bear's feet. She raised her small head and hooked her small hand at it. "Let me take a look at its injuries." That large bear had developed intelligence and could naturally understand her words. When it heard her, it couldn't help but be dumbfounded, and its eyes misted over. It obediently prostrated its enormous body. Everyone focused their eyes and finally saw that this large bear was hugging a small bear cub. This small bear cub looked like it was on its last breath. It was very small, not even as big as a toddler. Abba carried it over and gently laid it flat on the ground. Qi Xianxian and the others widened their eyes in shock and then looked down at their hands. F***CK. Just now, they actually shamelessly attacked a female bear that was hugging a cub. Qi Xianxian and the others all glanced at the little stoic resentfully. The stoic said expressionlessly, "I also didn't notice at the beginning. The enemy attacked our camp. Don't tell me we should be polite to them?" The little stoic said dryly, "We deserve to be beaten up." Everyone was speechless. "They destroyed a few of our tents. Now that we've beaten them up, we're even." Everyone was speechless. Why did he suddenly feel that what the little stoic said made a lot of sense? Although the little stoic was talking to them, her movements weren't weak at all. This little bear had more than a dozen very serious spiritual injuries on its body. Both of its legs were broken, and its nose was twitching. It looked somewhat pitiful. After the little stoic finished bandaging it, she fed it a healing medicine and a small bottle of nutrient solution before turning to look at Chen Baojia and the others who were sitting paralyzed on the side. "You guys did it?" Chen Baojia was obviously choked by this question. Looking at the little stoic's pitch-black icy eyes, a trace of anger involuntarily surfaced in his heart. "So what if we did it? Who doesn't capture spirit beasts like this?" Chen Baojia stiffened her neck and scoffed. "You speak as if those spirit beasts around you followed you here of their own accord and you've never captured them before." The little stoic blinked and nodded apathetically at her. She carried the small bear cub to the large bear's feet and patted its thick thigh. Only then did she turn around and say to Qi Xianxian and the others, "Let's go." "Hey, where are you guys going?" Chapter 3073. Zhongli Jiwei, who was sitting paralyzed next to Chen Baojia, couldn't help but become anxious when she saw that the little stoic was about to leave with Duanmu Qing, Hidden Flower, and the others. What kind of joke was this? Their current combat strength simply wasn't enough to continue fighting with the two large bears. If the little stoic led them all away, then how were they going to fight with the bears later? Most of them were below level 10 spiritual cultivators. For example, the person running at the very back just now was merely a level 7 spiritual cultivator. He was sent flying by a bear with a single slap, and he still hadn't woken up from his coma. Arbor glanced at them coldly and couldn't be bothered to continue speaking to them. He turned around and pattered away. How could Qi Xianxian and the others continue to stay here after Arbor left? They hastily left with Sir Jojo. "Hey, wait. You guys." The Flying Sword Academy students couldn't help but become anxious. Judging from the little stoic's appearance, she really didn't seem to be joking. If they left like this and left them here, what good would come out of it if they were attacked by the bears a few times? You want to capture someone else's child, so their parents will hunt you down. Isn't this a very normal thing? Arbor glanced back at them aloofly and said coldly, "It's inconvenient for us to intervene in personal grudges. You guys can do as you please. Remember not to hit our tent. If you flatten my tent, don't blame me for being merciless." Arbor coldly threw down this sentence and left. Everyone's mouths involuntarily twitched when they heard this, and they all looked at the little stoic who turned around to leave. What did this child say? This logical thinking, was truly unconventional and very different from the rest. But for some reason, Situ Yi and the others actually felt that what their little junior sister said was very reasonable. They really couldn't find a single mistake. Was it because they were led astray by the little stoic's bizarre thinking? Chen Baojia, Zhongli Jiwei, and the others were even more flabbergasted and fumed with anger. The little stoic meant that they couldn't even compare to a lousy tent. How could she say that? Therefore, she felt that speaking with this stoic face really required a very strong psychological endurance. Otherwise, she would most likely be angered to death. Arbor went into the tent to make pills. He threw out a soundproof talisman to block out the sounds outside. Who cared what was going on outside? What did it have to do with her? Chen Baojia, Zhongli Jiwei, and the others were really unlucky. The two big bears consciously didn't touch any of the tents, but they kept chasing after Chen Baojia and Zhongli Jiwei. Both sides fought fiercely until the Holy Sun led a group of people back for lunch. Only then did they stop and call it a day. The two big bears were both intelligent. When they saw so many people returning to the camp, how could they continue to stay here? He hurriedly roared, and the two big bears, one male and one female, carried their babies and ran away. At this time, Chen Baojia, Zhongli Jiwei, and the others had already been beaten black and blue by De Xiong. Even their parents couldn't recognize them. One of Chen Baojia's arms was even broken, and half of it was hanging in front of her chest. She groaned and complained incessantly. Zhongli Jiwei was even more unlucky. Both of her eyes were bruised, half of her face was swollen, and her eyes were bloodshot. She looked very unlucky. Chapter 3074. D*Mn. If that D*Mn blind bear's slap had been a little more ruthless, her head would have been smacked off. There was simply no justice in this world. Why did they have to be so miserable and miserable? Chen Baojia and Zhongli Jiwei sat paralyzed on the ground, gasping for breath. When they saw Holy Sun Mi Yen, they couldn't help but start crying. Sir Holy Sun, you have to uphold justice for us. How can there be such a narrow-minded, vicious, and treacherous person in our team? We can't continue traveling together with this kind of person. If this continues, we'll all be killed by her sooner or later. Zhongli Jiwei shrieked. She must be chased out of the team. Right, chased out of the team. Immediately chased out of the team. The people who were also ravaged to the point that their parents couldn't recognize them also clamored along with Zhongli Jiwei and Chen Baojia, agreeing with their views. Originally, they didn't have much enmity toward the little stoic. But after coming into contact with her today, they felt like their hearts and lungs were about to explode from anger. This person could actually look on helplessly as the blind bear tortured them like this. She clearly had the strength to save them, but she didn't do anything. Not only did she not do anything, but she even instigated her companions not to do anything. What kind of godly thinking was this? Could it be that your conscience doesn't hurt at all by doing this? What happened? Holy Sun Mi Yen had just returned, so he naturally didn't know what was going on. Seeing the miserable state of Zhongli Jiwei and Chen Baojia's group, some compassion and sympathy arose in his heart. God loves the world. The Holy Sun stretched out his hands, revealing a compassionate expression of a Holy Father. What exactly happened? Since we're a team now, let's head to the Sun Moon Temple together for practical training. Then if there's something within my power, I'll do my best to help everyone. Sir Holy Sun. Chen Baojia immediately became spirited when she heard this. She wailed dryly as she scrambled to the front of the Holy Sun, hugged his leg, and continued to bawl. Look at us. Isn't it miserable? Isn't it pitiful? It's all because of that stoic face. It's all because of her. Because of her. Aber opened the curtain and walked out of the tent, just in time to hear Chen Baojia's demonic voice. Who did she hurt? She beat them up. Did she summon the bear? How did she suddenly become the culprit? She must be kicked out of our team immediately. Kicked out of the team? Sir Jojo couldn't help but snort in disdain. This group of people was really whimsical. She calmly walked over and stood in front of Holy Sun Mi Yen. She said coldly, "Who wants to kick me out of the team?" Me. Zhongli Jiwei screamed. She pointed at the wound on her face and angrily roared, "Look at what I've become. You woman, you. Hey, why are you being so loud? Who's deaf? Can't you speak properly?" Qi Xianxian interrupted her in annoyance. You. Lord Holy Sun. Zhongli Jiwei shouted angrily, "I feel ashamed to have such a teammate." Who's your teammate? Aber tilted his head and glanced at her with disdain. Tell them who we are. Qi Xianxian, Lu Yu, and the others looked at each other. They pulled out a dagger at the same time with 5 large words engraved on the hilt. Seekong Planet Battle Team was vivid in their minds. Everyone's lips involuntarily twitched. Chapter 3075. F***CK. It turned out that they already had a battle team prepared for them. Auber also leisurely pulled out a similar dagger from his waist and flashed it in front of everyone. Is there something wrong with your head? Who's in the same battle team as you? Heh, we're just going the same way. Don't think too much. Little Fatty put away the dagger with a chuckle. Zhongli Jiwei's face flushed red. Little Fatty's words made it seem like she, Zhongli Jiwei, was flattering herself and insisted on being in the same team as them. Seekong Planet Battle Team looked down on people like them. Was that what he meant? Liang Qingqing couldn't help but find it funny. Little junior sister was really so interesting wherever she went. She actually made a small battle team of her own. Sir Jojo expressionlessly looked at Zhongli Jiwei, whose face was as red as pig liver sauce. Do you have any other questions? Zhongli Jiwei choked on her breath and couldn't speak for a long time. Beside her, Chen Baojia couldn't help but say angrily, since we're all in the same team now, it's wrong for you to ignore the life and death of your teammates. You guys went to kill other people's children and ended up being hunted down by their adults? What does this have to do with me? Sir Jojo had a flabbergasted expression. She really couldn't figure it out. Could it be that these people weren't prepared to be killed by other people's parents before they killed other people's children? What were these people thinking? They were allowed to kill others, but others couldn't find trouble with them? It didn't make sense at all. Sir Jojo looked at them as if they were weirdos and shook his head. It's more appropriate to treat people with brain disease as soon as possible. The later the stage, the harder it is to treat. The main treatment method can be acupuncture or medication. It requires 1 to 5 courses of treatment and lasts for half a year. Pfft. Situ-E really couldn't hold it in. As he burst out laughing, he nodded apologetically at everyone and coughed lightly. My apologies. He freaking couldn't hold it in. Sir Jojo was seriously a bit too funny. Everyone felt like they were talking to a chicken talking to a duck. Weren't they talking about how they shouldn't leave their teammates in the lurch? Why is this stoic face pulling a stunt like he's actually talking about a brain disease? He's even making it sound so serious, as if this group of people all have an incurable disease. Chen Baojia was so angry that her face turned red. She raised her nose slightly and panted heavily. You. She racked her brains but couldn't find a word to describe this stoic face with a vile attitude. Auber looked at her indifferently. Your left hand is fractured, and there are internal injuries in your chest and abdomen. If you don't treat them properly, I'm afraid it will affect the use of that arm in the future. I noticed that your complexion is abnormally flushed. It should be due to the accumulation of lung qi and extreme liver fire. She still had to pay attention to adjusting her state of mind to avoid excessive anger that would cause her heart to be out of tune. If it was serious, it could even affect her menstrual cycle. If your period doesn't come properly, it will affect your fertility in the future, and it will also affect your life as a couple. It's very inappropriate. Puff. Cough, cough, cough. This time, even the saint could not help but have a strange expression on his face as his cheeks twitched slightly. If one looked closely, they could see that the veins on the saint's forehead were throbbing slightly. He silently glanced at the little stoic and saw that her expression was very serious. She didn't look like she was teasing him at all. It indeed looked like she was dispelling a patient's doubts out of a doctor's heart. You can wait for me today. 0-point explosion is even better. I'm still in the middle of preparing the manuscript. It's too rushed. I have to prepare for the new year, and I'm still being dragged by others to chat about daily life. How miserable. Chapter 3076. However, Chen Baojia was so angry that her fingers trembled. She kept pointing at Auber and saying, you, for a long time before finally collapsing to the ground with a thump. She was so angry that her nose was bleeding. The little stoic shook her head. Your internal heat is too strong. You have to pay attention to adjusting your emotions. The ancients said that one should not show one's emotions on their faces. This is not completely an exaggeration. It does have some health purposes. When dealing with matters, one must guard against arrogance and impatience. One must guard against anger and depression. Otherwise, it will be extremely bad for one's body. The little Stoic said indifferently, "You have to be indifferent in everything you do. Like me, I'm indifferent normally and indifferent when I'm angry. If I'm indifferent in everything I do, I will definitely live a long, long life." Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, Qi Xian squatted to the side and slapped her thigh in wild laughter. Her laughter was like a freaking floodgate being opened, and the laughter around her rose and fell in picturesque disorder. F***ck, wasn't this Stoic face too funny? She even freaking imitated her indifference, indifferent facial paralysis, indifferent expressionless, and indifferent to the point that birds could fly. It just so happened that Emolienne, Duan Yu, and He Chen returned. When they saw everyone laughing like idiots, they couldn't help but be baffled. Meanwhile, the tiny and expressionless Sir Jojo who was standing there was also perplexed. It was simply baffling. She was clearly explaining some medical principles to them and reminding that Miss Chen not to always be angry. Anger was especially bad for women. Why the heck were they all laughing so exaggeratedly? What was so funny about this? Sir Jojo expressed that he completely didn't understand other people's logical thinking. Emolienne saw his little wifey standing there and looking at everyone expressionlessly. She was clearly out of tune with the surrounding people who were laughing like idiots. He couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He quickly walked over and pulled the little fellow to the side. "What's wrong?" He knew that she would have a questioning expression even if he asked. The little fellow clearly didn't understand what others were laughing at. The way of medicine isn't a joke. Laughing indiscriminately, you don't know how to laugh blindly. The little fellow flicked her sleeves angrily and turned to leave with a huff. Duan Yu couldn't help but be speechless. After sweeping his gaze around, he picked up the little fatty and asked, "What happened?" Little fatty was already out of breath from laughing. Hearing this, he hurriedly held back his laughter and repeated what had just happened word by word. In the end, he even said, "Jojo always said that Miss Chen's internal heat is strong and her liver is burning." Who would have known that Miss Chen was angered to this extent by her? She even taught others to be indifferent. Qi Xian smiled as she squatted on the ground. Learn from her. Ha ha ha, I can't take it anymore. Let me laugh for a while more. Ma Yingchen smiled and said, I love the way my little Jojo infuriates people to death. I'm going to check on my chow. She's so cute. Emolienne rolled her eyes at him but did not chase after him. Instead, she walked up to the Holy Sun, whose eyebrows were twitching, and said, "I think it's better if we leave early tomorrow morning." Sir Holy Sun was still in a daze from the little Stoic's indifference and had yet to recover his wits. When he heard this, he only nodded indifferently without any ripples in his emotions. "From the looks of it, the weather won't be too good tomorrow." Emolienne said, "The road ahead is filled with low-lying valleys. The Rocky Mountains on both sides are extremely steep, and there's a lot of soil piled up on top." Chapter 3077. If the rain is heavy, it might cause a landslide. It would be bad if the road is blocked. Moreover, this is still a no-fly zone. It won't do us any good if we leave too late. Hearing this, Holy Sun Mi Yen nodded seriously. The Crown Prince's words are very reasonable. We will go to do Chunjiang this afternoon and see if there are any others who were left behind. After a night's rest, we will set off early in the morning tomorrow. Seeing that he had listened, Emolienne nodded and turned to walk back to his tent. With Holy Sun Mi Yen leading the search and rescue operation in the afternoon, there shouldn't be much of a problem. After Emolienne entered the tent, he saw Lord Jojo leaning against a soft tiger skin couch. She was holding a jar of dried fruit and chewing it with her cheeks puffed up. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal was sitting leisurely on a short table, holding a cup of tea in his hand. Seeing him enter, he blinked and smiled. "Ah, you've talked to Mayan?" Emolienne nodded. "We'll leave early in the morning tomorrow." The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal glanced at the little girl suggestively. Emolien looked over and saw that the little girl was silent and continued chewing on the dried fruit. His little girl was angry and wanted to eat something good to cool down when she was angry. Prince Emo found it funny, but he didn't dare to laugh out loud. He only coughed lightly and said, "Jojo, when your husband followed them to explore nearby, I saw a flower growing on a rock. I thought it looked very pretty, so I plucked it and gave it to you." Lord Jojo turned his little head to look at him. "Where's the flower?" Ma Shurchin put down her teacup and rolled her eyes. "Forget it. There's a giant python coiled behind that flower. I've waited for 200 years for this flower in the stone to bloom, but you snatched it away." Prince Emo took out a small flower glowing with white light from his inner world and handed it to Abba. "It's pretty, my wife." Lord Jojo quickly nodded and carefully took the flower in the stone from his hands. His gloomy anger was swept away and he beamed. "Ball ball. Plant it for master." This flower in the stone was really good stuff. She wondered if she could get Chocho to breed it. They would be of great use if they were reproduced. When the time came, he could grind one stalk into powder and concoct a multi-purpose health pill. As long as the person didn't die on the spot, even if they were paralyzed for more than 10 years after taking it, they would slowly recover. Jojo finally smiled. Just now, Peach Blossom said that the flower in the stone was guarded by a guardian beast. "Did you fight with it?" "You didn't." Prince Emo looked at his wife innocently. "How could my husband do such a thing?" "My husband stole its flower, so naturally, he wouldn't harm its life. Am I right, Jojo?" The little fellow nodded his head in a serious manner, feeling that his husband was very reliable. Duan Yu, who had just entered through the curtain, happened to hear Emolien's self-praising words. He couldn't resist rolling his eyes at the sky as he said, "He didn't hit the other party. He merely revealed his black fire, which scared that snake into cowering and immediately slipping away." The little stoic gazed at them expressionlessly. "Forget it, don't blame anyone." Based on her understanding of them, it was most likely that the unlucky snake wasn't scared away by Emolien. It was definitely scared away by the three of them working together. Prince Mo couldn't resist bursting into laughter. "What nonsense are you babbling about? We're all civilized people, so we naturally wouldn't do that kind of outrageous thing." Duan Yu rolled his eyes. Chapter 3078. This time, even the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal could not bear to continue listening to this fellow's boasting. He asked with a dark expression, "Did you tell them?" Emolien replied with an "Oh," before flipping open the curtain and walking outside. "I'll go call them all over." Before long, Sir Jojo's tent was filled with people. Qi Xian and Liang Qingqing squeezed together with Sir Jojo. Meanwhile, Situ Yi and the others sat as much as they could and could only stand for the time being if they could not. "We will set off early in the morning tomorrow. The path at the canyon is not easy to walk on. With this weather, it will probably start raining in the afternoon." Emolien said, "The path ahead is very narrow, and the Rocky Mountains on both sides form a crevice with that path. I suspect that someone will set up an ambush here." Situ Yi and the others were involuntarily taken aback. "What? Who would be so bold as to ambush us there?" Duanmu Qing said, "The Crown Prince means that the Heavenly Fate will set up an ambush on that path to outflank us. F*CK, can't the Heavenly Fate just give it a rest? What is the Heavenly Fate trying to do? It's enough to make a move in Du Chunjiang. He still won't let us off now? Those zombie crocodiles in Du Chunjiang are only the appetizer. The main show is yet to come." Duan Yu said aloofly, "The most important thing is that everyone needs to mentally prepare themselves and nip the problem in the bud. Tomorrow's path will probably be more difficult. Moreover, this place is still in no-fly mode, so we must be more careful," Prince Emo added. Sir Jojo sat there expressionlessly and took out a dried fruit to continue chewing without saying a word. Everyone turned to look and almost burst out laughing. This child had a "don't talk to me" expression on her stoic face. If it weren't for her mouth continuously chewing, she would truly look like a small jade sculpture. She sat on the soft couch and calmly looked at them like this. Situ-e immediately self-reflected and quickly apologized to the little girl. Jojo, it was senior brother's fault just now. Senior brother shouldn't have laughed so impudently. Forgive senior brother, don't ignore senior brother. Yes, senior brother should keep it in his heart. Even if he choked to death, he couldn't laugh out loud. The corners of Liang Qingqing's mouth twitched, and she almost couldn't hold it in. F***ck, senior brother Situ is definitely trying to be funny with a straight face. Next time, can you please remind me before you tell me a joke? I can't hold it in. Senior brother should support your diagnosis. I support you unconditionally, Situ-e said with a straight face. Those people who are laughing are definitely uncultured. You don't know anything about medicine. What's so funny about such a serious matter? Yes. I was the one who diagnosed the crown princess. What are you guys laughing about? Hidden Flower hurriedly nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone glared at him. You brat, you laughed the loudest just now. Lord Jojo glanced at them and snorted. Suddenly, he waved his hand and took out a box from his inner world. Give out the pills. Get ready to leave tomorrow. All right. Everyone covered their mouths and laughed, nodding repeatedly. By the way, Jojo, when will you be able to recover? Woo 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 woo. Before Wei Nanfeng could finish his giggling sentence, lightning rushed up and covered his mouth and dragged him out of the tent. She simply touched his sore spot. Did she want to be scolded by Lord Jojo? Hey, lightning, why the hell are you covering my mouth? Chapter 3079. Humph. Mr. Jojo waved his hand angrily. I'm going to Paradise Planet to take a nap. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. Arbor didn't come out of Paradise Planet until sunset. She had a good sleep. When she woke up, she drew a lot of talismans to replenish the speed talismans and 5 spirit talismans that she had used to avoid the Omega Kotoku. Lady Chow Chow stretched her body and happily walked out of the tent with a few colorful divine fish in her hands. She called out, "Husband." Emolien didn't respond. The little girl scratched her head with the colorful divine fish in her hand. Qi Xian ran out of the tent and smiled at her. Ah, you're awake, my Chow. Prince Mo and Prince Chen have been invited to the riverside by the saint. Oh. Arbor nodded. Then I'll grill the fish. Qi Xuan's mouth twitched. She quickly said, No, the fatty is here. You don't have to do such a small thing. Fatty, little fatty. The little fatty had just come back from relieving himself. He tidied his clothes and said, What are you talking about? I'm coming. Fatty, we're eating fish tonight. Fix it. Leave it to me. When the little fatty saw Qi Xian winking at him, he immediately understood. He chuckled and took the colorful divine fish from Lady Chow Chow's hands. Hey, these fish are really nimble. Mr. Jojo looked at them suspiciously. Do you dislike my cooking? No. The little fatty and Qi Xian immediately waved their hands against their will and said with a smile, We feel sorry for you. Don't work too hard, ha. Mr. Jojo glanced at them and snorted. He turned and walked towards the riverside. I'm going to check on my lotus. Qi Xian nodded and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Xian, your expression just now was a little too exaggerated. Be careful not to expose yourself in front of Jojo. I think my expression is normal. Then why did she suspect you earlier? Qi Xian whispered to him, You're right, Jojo is too smart. If we don't let her cook in the future, we'll have to use more indirect methods. We can't be too direct, lest she gets suspicious. Yes. The fat boy nodded his head vigorously. We can't let her feel that you dislike her cooking. Qi Xian glanced at him from the corner of her eyes and pouted. You make it sound like you don't mind. Arbor could see many people gathered at the bank of the vast Dukhan River from afar. The voice of the Holy Sun's command entered her ears over and over again. Bring it up, Bring it up. Put it down properly. Cough, cough, cough. A few students from the Hong Academy were carried up and placed on the ground. Turn it over, and spit out the water. The Holy Son stood at the side and gestured as he spoke. Naturally, someone stepped forward and turned those people over. He patted their backs and asked them to spit out the water that was choking on their chests. Cough, cough, cough. A student from the Hong Academy instinctively wiped the water on his face and coughed a few times. Little brother, are you all right? Dou Fengmian helped that person up and reached out to check his pulse. Your body is fine, just a little weak. You'll be fine after resting for a day or two. Thank you, little brother. The student from the Hong Academy nodded gratefully at Dou Fengmian and was helped to sit at the side. Chapter 3080. Sir Holy Son, over there are still people over there. Thank God, everyone should be fine, right? Help the rescued people to the side to sit down first. Abba looked at Holy Son Mi Yen, who was standing on the stone block with a compassionate priest-like expression, and she couldn't resist rolling her eyes at the sky. This hypocrite, he didn't look like a good person at all. When the Holy Son turned around, he saw the little stoic looking at him expressionlessly with an icy face. He couldn't help but be dumbfounded before hastily saying, "Stoic face, come here, come here." Who was the stoic face? Abba's small face was wooden, looking like she couldn't be bothered to pay attention to that person. Holy Son Mi Yen hurriedly beckoned her over. Come here, there are many patients here that the Dou family brothers didn't have time to see. Come over and take a look at them. The little stoic placed her small paws behind her back and expressionlessly walked over. Where's my husband? Oh, I asked His Highness the Crown Prince and His Highness Prince Chen to go somewhere further away to look for him. You sure know how to assign people. The little stoic rolled her eyes, feeling increasingly dissatisfied with this priest-like Holy Son. Ever since she got here, she saw this guy standing on the stone block and ordering people to do this and that. Now, he was actually assigning Zhou Lian and Duan Yu to do this? He was really good at using them. Holy Son Mi Yen pursed his lips and suddenly said, "You need to be paid." The little stoic, "You need to be paid 2 million spirit coins." The little stoic, all right, hurry up and take a look. Are there any problems with these people's bodies? Dou Fengmian and Dou Fenghua both turned their heads and nodded at the little girl. Thank you for your trouble. Abba half squatted and took their pulses one after another. She took out a medicine bottle from her sleeve and looked in Holy Son Mi Yan's direction. I'll pay. Sir Holy Son immediately twitched his mouth in understanding. Give them the medicine. As expected of a saint who could deliver the world. The little stoic curled her lips. Echem. Chow Mu nodded her small head before turning around to pour out a pill for each of those people. Holy Son Mi Yen wanted to cry but had no tears. He secretly rolled his eyes at the back of the little guy. Let's go our separate ways. I've paid the money, and we're done. Abba stood up expressionlessly, turned around, and walked towards the river. Everyone looked at her back with some bitterness. The little stoic wanted to draw a clear line between herself and all of them. Holy Son Mi Yen sighed. He knew that his image in front of the stoic face wasn't good from the start. No matter how hard he tried in the future, it would probably be very difficult to change his image. If they didn't have a good relationship, they would have to fork out a lot of money. Just thinking about it made her want to cry. Abba climbed onto a rock by the river and gazed into the distance. A spiritual weapon that looked like a big-headed carp quickly emerged from the bottom of the water and swam quickly toward the riverside along with the flowing water. The speed was so fast that it was like a bolt of lightning flashing across the sky, causing people to hold their breaths. In the blink of an eye, that big-headed carp arrived at the riverside and stopped. Sir Holy Son lamented, "Young Master Mu's spiritual weapon can be said to be extraordinary. It should be infinitely close to a divine weapon. It's really fast." When the cabin door opened, Mu Xingchen jumped out first and hurriedly threw up while supporting himself on a rock. Everyone couldn't help but be speechless. They had never seen their master throw up time after time because of his own spiritual weapon. Chapter 3081. MHM. Abba nodded. Are you done? Let's go home and eat. I'm done. Emolien nodded with a smile. I'll roast colorful divine fish for you guys tonight. Abba grumbled. Xian said she didn't want me to work, but I think they all disdained my cooking. Is my roasted fish that bad? Vexation appeared on the little fellow's face. How could that be? Emolien suppressed her laughter and secretly nudged Duanyu. Duanyu glanced at him speechlessly and braced himself to say, Jojo's roasted fish is naturally the best. How about we go back and have Jojo roast too for Emolien? Emolien, okay. Sir Jojo nodded vigorously. I'll also roast two for you. Duanyu, Emolien couldn't resist turning her face away. Who told you to cheat your brother? You also fell into the trap yourself. At this time, Mu Xingchen had also finished vomiting and walked forward dizzily. He had just called out sister when he seemed to have thought of something and hastily said, Quick, quick, there are still people in the hold. Quickly have people carry them out first. Holy Sun Mi Yen had already ordered people to go forward and carry 7 to 8 people out of the spirit tool's stomach. Good, this should be enough. Holy Sun Mi Yen nodded at Mu Xingchen and the others with a gratified expression. Young Master Mu's spirit tool has really helped us greatly this time. Mu Xingchen quickly waved his hand and said to Abba, Sister, give me an antiemetic first. Holy Sun Mi Yen glanced at Mu Xingchen speechlessly and then said, This spirit tool looks quite spacious, right? How can young Master Mu not adapt? Why is it like this every time? Mu Xingchen couldn't help but chuckle wryly. He could say that ever since that freak Emolien modified it, not only did this spirit tool's speed increase by 100-fold, but the space in its stomach also increased by a lot. But the problem was, it was too fast. Traveling at such a high speed that it felt as though he was flying, he felt a little dizzy. He reckoned that he would have to get used to it a few more times before he felt better. Abba gave him a pill to stop his dizziness and looked at him. Big brother, are you okay? Big brother is fine. Mu Xingchen hurriedly waved at her and forced a smile. F*CK, his big brother vomited like an idiot after being seen by his little sister a few times. Sob, his image was completely ruined in front of his younger sister. Mu Xingchen wept silently for a while before he suddenly thought of something. He hurriedly turned to Dou Fengmian and said, "Oh right, Rou Xian's injuries are quite serious. Would young Master Dou please take a look at her?" Dou Fengmian and Dou Fenghua looked at each other and nodded politely at Mu Xingchen. At this time, 2 people carried Mu Rochuan over. She was lying on the cold ground with her eyes closed. Her hair was still dripping with river water. Rou Xian. Mu Xingchen looked rather anxious. Dou Fengmian carefully examined Mu Rochuan's injuries and looked at Mu Xingchen rather awkwardly. Miss Mu's injuries are below her abdomen. This wound. It really wasn't convenient for him to examine it. Although Dou Fengmian didn't say this out loud, Mu Xingchen also understood his meaning. Dou Fengmian turned to look at the little stoic again. Seeing that she was expressionlessly looking elsewhere without any intention of volunteering, he didn't open his mouth to provoke her anymore. Mu Xingchen also knew that this matter was somewhat difficult for the Dou family's young master, so he also secretly looked back at Arbor, hesitating whether he should open his mouth. Chapter 3082. After all, Jojo and Mu Rochuan's relationship really wasn't that good. If he spoke up, wouldn't it infuriate Jojo? "Stoic, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and save her." Holy Sun Mi Yen spoke first and waved his hand at the little stoic. "I'll give you the consultation fee later." "How can you be so kind-hearted?" Abba glanced at the Holy Sun in confusion. "Didn't you previously make us sign a contract saying that once we enter the mystic realm, our lives and deaths have nothing to do with your temple?" "We haven't entered the mystic realm yet, right?" Holy Sun Mi Yen said. How would it look if they let people die on the way before even entering the mystic realm? The temple would also lose a lot of face. Upon seeing this, Abba nodded. Since it's your request, then fine. Abba pattered to Mu Rochuan's side with small steps. She crouched down and reached out to hold a knife, about to cut off the obstructing fabric on Mu Rochuan's stomach. Unexpectedly, Mu Rochuan suddenly woke up, and her hazy eyes abruptly widened. She stared fixedly at the dagger in Abba's hand and shouted in a trembling voice, What are you doing? Abba turned the small knife in her hand and looked at her coldly while pinching it between her fingers. As you can see, I'm treating your injury. No, I don't want you to treat me. Mu Rochuan's pupils contracted, and she repeatedly shook her head. When she moved slightly, the wound connected to her brain and nerves. It was so painful that she broke out in layers of cold sweat, and her entire body trembled uncontrollably as if she was soaked in cold water. Abba raised a brow at her noncommittally and then put away the small knife in her hand. She wasn't even in the mood to explain and directly waved her hand at the Holy Sun, saying, She's not willing. You should find someone else. It wasn't like she was so idle that she had to treat her illness. Since she wasn't willing, she wouldn't rush over to join in the fun. In any case, there were many capable people in the world. Doctors and pharmacists were readily available on the streets, so she didn't have to be the one to treat this injury. Holy Sun Mi Yen stared blankly for a moment before hurriedly persuading Mu Rochuan, Miss Mu, your injuries are quite serious. Furthermore, it's in the lower abdomen. It's not convenient for young Master Do and the others to look at it. It's better to let Miss Chow take a look at it. Holy Sun Mi Yen thought that Mu Rochuan was doubting Abba's medical skills and hurriedly comforted her, Don't worry. From what I've seen, Miss Chow's medical skills are very good. Rochuan, don't be willful. Mu Xingchen hurriedly said to Mu Rochuan, Let Jojo take a look at your wound. Your injury can't be delayed any longer. However, Mu Rochuan shook her head firmly. Don't let her see it. Big brother, I don't want her to see it. Find someone else, big brother, big brother. The more Mu Rochuan screamed, the more agitated she became. Her entire body couldn't help but tremble slightly. In the end, they were sisters who grew up together, so they naturally had some true feelings for each other. Mu Xingchen couldn't bear to see his sister like this, so he nodded repeatedly and said, Okay, Big Brother understands. Big Brother will immediately go find someone else. However, Mo Lien and Duan Yu were a bit angered. When they saw Mu Rochuan's suicidal look, their eyes revealed traces of fury. You don't know what's good for you. Jojo, let's go. Lord Holy Sun. Mo Lien coldly called out. Holy Sun Mi Yen shuddered, feeling like he had done something bad with good intentions. Chapter 3083. He wouldn't be dissed by the couple again, right? Even though he felt that being scolded by the couple was nothing out of the ordinary, he wasn't a cheap person who was in a hurry to be scolded by others. Remember to pay the remuneration and consultation fee today. Mo Lien said coldly, Jojo examined the Mu family's miss just now, so he must pay the consultation fee. Okay, I'll pay right away. I'll pay right away when we return to the camp. Holy Sun Mi Yen twitched his mouth and nodded repeatedly. He thought to himself that this crown prince truly doted on his wife too much. Miss Mu Rochuan merely dissed the little stoic a few times and he immediately felt heartache for her. Besides, this wasn't considered dissing since Miss Mu was already like that. Fine, he clearly didn't trust the little stoic. When Holy Sun Mi Yen looked back, he saw that Mo Lien and Duan Yu had already left with the little stoic. Mu Xingchen raised his head to look in the direction where the three of them had left, then lowered his head to look at the half-dead Mu Roxian on the ground. He sighed and said, Roxian, you really don't understand Xiao Qiao. Since Jojo agreed to treat you, she will definitely do her best. You won't be able to find a second pill alchemist with better medical skills than her. Dou Fengmian nodded in agreement and glanced at Mu Rochuan. Miss Mu, if I use medicine, your injuries might take 5 to 6 days to recover, but if Miss Chow uses medicine, I estimate that your injuries will be 70% to 80% better in half a day. Mu Xingchen was taken aback. He didn't expect this young sir of the Dou family to have such a high evaluation of the little stoic's medical skills. He couldn't help but feel some regret in his heart. If he had known earlier, he would have knocked Rochuan unconscious earlier and let Jojo continue treating her. Now, he could only watch helplessly as Rochuan's injuries were serious and her expression pained, but he couldn't help much. Ro Xian, take this healing pill first. Mu Xingchen would normally carry some healing medicine distributed by his clan, but this medicine's effects weren't too good. But right now, he could only treat this as a last resort. He stuffed a pill into Mu Rochuan's mouth and turned to Dou Fengmian with a wry smile. Eldest young Master Dou, I'll have to trouble you. In a while, I'll carry Ro Xian back to the cabin. Please treat Ro Xian. Dou Fengmian looked hesitant. Doctors are benevolent. There is no difference between men and women in medicine. Please save me, young Master Dou. Dou Fengmian could only sigh. Originally, he thought that since the little stoic was here and she was a girl, it would be more convenient. He could treat Mu Rochuan in less than 2 days. Who knew that this Miss Mu's personality would be so stubborn, refusing to let the little stoic treat her no matter what? He had no choice but to agree. He couldn't just stand by and watch as Miss Mu's injuries worsened. Everyone couldn't help but look at each other in dismay before looking at the deathly pale Mu Rochuan with puzzlement. This girl is quite pretentious. The Holy Sun then ordered people to carry Mu Rochuan into the fish cabin. However, after going back and forth, Mu Rochuan's face turned even paler, and even her breathing became weaker. Dou Fengmian ordered people to lay Mu Rochuan down. He took out his dagger and muttered, "Excuse me," before cutting off a piece of cloth from Mu Rochuan's lower abdomen. Mu Xingchen involuntarily sucked in a cold breath when he saw his sister's wound. The wound was purplish-gray and strip-shaped, as if something sharp had slid across it. Her entire lower abdomen was nearly sliced open, and it looked extremely serious. Chapter 3084. Her wound had already rotted from being soaked in the river for a long time. Dou Fengmian frowned. "Ask my second brother to come in and help me." My second brother once acknowledged the Celestial Medicine Valley's Valley Master as his master, so his medical skills are much better than mine. Okay. Mu Xingchen quickly nodded. How could he refuse at this time? He hastily crawled out of the cop's belly and asked second young Master Dou to also enter the cabin to save Mu Rochuan. On the other side, Duan Yu and Mo Lien, who were walking towards the camp, were trying their best to console Sir Jojo. "Jojo, don't be unhappy. We won't stoop to their level. It's her own loss that she doesn't want you to treat her." Abba couldn't help but glance at them in amusement. "Why would I be angry? I don't even want to bother with her. Moreover, it's human nature for her not to trust me. After all, we've had many conflicts in the past. It'd be weird if she believed me. It saved me a lot of trouble. Isn't it good to collect the consultation fee as usual?" Abba harumphed. He indeed didn't look unhappy at all. It was true in the first place. Mu Rochuan simply didn't rank in her heart. Why would she get angry with a stranger she wasn't familiar with? It wasn't like she had nothing better to do. Duan Yu blinked and said with a smile, "That's good. That Mu Rochuan's complexion is pale, and it looks like her injury is quite serious." Chow Mu nodded. "I used my divine conscience to examine her body's condition just now. When she was in the water, she was hit by a large electric eel. The wound on her abdomen is very large. If it weren't for the spirit armor protecting her body, even her dantian would have shattered. Moreover, the power of lightning has already entered her body, so her meridians have also been greatly affected. She pushed away my Jojo because she didn't have good taste." Mo Lien harumphed. "She deserves to suffer in the future." Abba shook his head. "Let's not talk about her. Let's return to the camp to eat roasted fish." Little Fatty should be done roasting fish by now. Okay. Sure enough, Little Fatty had already finished roasting a few colorful divine fish. He even removed the bones and sliced off the meat, placing it on a large tray. The fish fillet looked golden and crispy, and the skin was a little crispy. The group of friends sitting around the table all had their eyes fixed on the plate. They were waiting for Arbor and the others to come back so they could start eating. Little Fatty even made pigeon stew and a big pot of holy rice. As soon as Arbor and the other two stepped into the camp, they smelled the fragrance of rice. Eat. Arbor's eyes suddenly lit up. He quickly walked forward and sat down beside Qi Xianxian. Have you been waiting for a long time? Not too long. Everyone shook their heads. You came back just in time. The food has just been prepared and it's still warm. Come, let's eat. Duan Yu and Emo Lien also took their seats with a smile. They cast a sidelong glance at the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal, who had already picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Why are you always wandering around outside? That's right, we don't have someone like you in our team. What should we do if someone discovers us? Can't you guys pretend you didn't see me? The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal turned around and rolled his eyes at them. I saw that you guys had such a sumptuous meal and was afraid that it would be a waste if you guys couldn't finish it, so I came out to help you guys finish some. Right, it would be a waste if we couldn't finish it. Everyone, eat more, eat more. Little Fatty had already finished a bowl of holy rice and silently went to fill a second bowl. This rice was so delicious that it made people unable to stop eating. What should they do? Chapter 3085. Oh, that's right. Have you found those floating on the river? Little Fatty quickly asked after swallowing his rice. We're setting off tomorrow. If we don't make it in time, then we really won't make it in time. Almost all of them have been brought back. Arbor nodded. However, a few people were injured, but it wasn't very serious. He left Mu Rochuan out of the picture and only mentioned the other people's symptoms aloofly. It was mainly because their cultivation wasn't high enough, causing their auras to be weak. In addition, their bodies were weak, so they should have needed 2 days to recuperate. However, the time of departure tomorrow could not be changed. If that was the case, they would be rather unlucky. After all, they could only rest for 1 night, and their bodies might not be able to fully recover. Halfway through their meal, they saw Mu Xingchen rushing over with a burning expression. He said to Qi Xianxian, Miss Qi, please come with me and help. Arbor coldly curled his lips. What is it, big brother Mu? Qi Xianxian quickly stood up and looked at him in confusion. You're in such a hurry. Where do you want me to go to help? Go to the riverside. Rochuan's injuries are quite serious. Mu Xingchen was a bit embarrassed as he said, her lower abdomen was struck by lightning, and the power of thunder and lightning is currently roaming around her body. We need Miss Qi's help to completely remove this power of thunder and lightning from her body. Otherwise, not only will it affect her future cultivation, but her life might also be in danger if it's serious. Since young Master Omega Kotoku wasn't present, Qi Xuanxuan's lightning spirit energy was the purest in the entire team, so Mu Xingchen immediately thought of Qi Xianxian. Duan Yu couldn't resist laughing mockingly. Miss Qi is also Jojo's teammate, and they have a good relationship. Aren't you afraid that Miss Qi will be instructed by Jojo to secretly harm your sister? I think we should just forget about it. Mu Xingchen instantly became even more embarrassed and didn't know how to continue. After all, there really wasn't anything wrong with what Duan Yu said. Just now, it was Rochuan who refused to let Qiao Qiao treat her. Now, she had to go and beg Qiao Qiao's best teammate. This was indeed a little unreasonable. Mu Xingchen glanced uneasily at Arbor. Arbor sighed softly, then turned to Qi Xianxian and said, Miss Mu was attacked by the electric eel. Go and help my big brother. Help Miss Mu suck out the power of lightning from her body. As for the rest, the 2 young masters of the Do clan will treat Miss Mu. You don't have to worry about it. Qi Xianxian was baffled. She was not stupid. Seeing that Prince Chen's words were quite sarcastic, and that the eldest brother of the Mu family always had that kind of awkward expression on his face, she couldn't help but ask suspiciously, "Did something happen just now?" "It's nothing." Aber understood Qi Xuanxuan's temper too well. If she knew that Mu Rouxian was disdainful of Jojo and refused to let her treat her, she definitely wouldn't help. Perhaps she would even mock Mu Rouxian with her sharp tongue. Forget it, for her big brother's sake, she would help where she could. In any case, it was just a small matter, so why make things difficult for her big brother? On the other hand, Aber had an indifferent attitude. Moreover, it wasn't like other people didn't trust his medical skills before, but so what? If they didn't trust him, then so be it. He was still missing out on something. Chapter 3086. She was the real deal and had inherited her master's top-notch medical skills. There was no need for her to brag about it. She was well aware of it. It didn't matter if others acknowledged it or not. Aber looked up and nodded slightly at Qi Xianxian. "Go ahead." Mu Xingqian heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly said to his little sister, "Jojo, Rouxuan is in the wrong for this. Big brother will talk to her later." Aber turned his head away indifferently. "No need. It has nothing to do with me." Mu Xingqian's heart couldn't help but sink. There was an indescribable sense of depression in his heart. Could it be that Jojo and Rouxuan's relationship had always been like this? Jojo. Mu Xingqian still wanted to say something. Prince Emo couldn't help but look up and rebuke him. "All right, you saw that woman's attitude just now. You know very well whether it's Jojo's fault or that woman's fault. We've never been on the same side in the past. There's no need to force us to be together in the future." Emolienne said in annoyance. "Don't keep thinking of being a peacemaker. With her attitude just now, this matter can't be settled." Aber secretly reached out and tugged at Emolienne's sleeve. "Big brother, bring Xianxian over first." No, you guys should explain it to me clearly. From what you're saying, did Miss Mu and Jojo have some conflict just now?" Qi Xianxian turned to look at Mu Xingqian unhappily. "Big brother Mu, could it be that Mu Rouxuan bullied our Jojo just now?" Mu Xingqian quickly shook his head. What ability did Mu Rouxuan have to bully Jojo? No one would believe it even if they said it. Then what do they mean by this? Nothing. Xianxian, alright, hurry up and come back to eat after you're done. Aber quickly used the foodie's favorite food to divert her attention. Qi Xianxian was indeed diverted. She nodded and said, "Then you guys have to leave some for me." "Got it. Hurry up and go." Aber waved at the two of them. Mu Xingqian opened his mouth but did not say anything. He turned around and left with Qi Xianxian. Everything about young Master Mu is good, but he's indecisive and indecisive. "It's a bit of a headache," Duan Yu commented. Regarding this point, Emolienne was also in full agreement. Personality dictates. Personality dictates. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal grinned as he held his rice bowl and picked up another colorful divine fish with his chopsticks. "Add more spice next time. It's good for dinner." The little fatty hurriedly nodded and said, "Hey, I forgot that I cooked red braised pork. I'll bring it over for you." "Oh, we're almost finished. Hurry up and serve the dishes. Is Mu Rouxuan seriously injured?" When Liang Qingqing and the others were conversing with Qi Xianxian, they had already heard the gossip that Qi Xianxian had told them. By now, they all knew that their Jojo was related to the Mu family by blood. Jojo's true identity was the daughter of the Divine Province's Mu family. Such a delicate little girl actually grew up in a place like the Lower Star Domain. They couldn't help but sigh when they thought about it. Aber nodded. "Her injuries are very serious. When I helped her use her inner vision, I could see that there seemed to be a crack in her dantian, but I don't know the cause. That electric eel also attacked her quite seriously this time. The wound on her lower abdomen won't heal any time soon." Chapter 3087. Everyone looked at each other and thought to themselves, if her dantian is damaged, then it'll be troublesome. A damaged dantian will affect her future growth. This meant that the Mu family's genius young Miss Growth might stop before she reached the God realm. On the other side, Qi Xianxian followed Mu Xingchen to the Dukhan River and entered the big-headed carp spirit artifact. Ever since this carp was modified by Mo Lien, the space inside became very big. It probably wouldn't be a problem to accommodate 1,000 people. Qi Xianxian walked in and saw that Miss Mu was placed on a reclining chair. Her face was very pale, and her eyes were slightly closed. She looked like she was in great pain. Miss Qi, please extract the lightning spirit energy from Miss Mu's body. Dou Fengmian stood up and moved to the side, inviting Qi Xianxian over. Qi Xianxian nodded and stepped forward. Just as she was about to grab Mu Rochuan's wrist, Mu Rochuan suddenly opened her eyes and glared at Qi Xianxian like a dead fish. Qi Xianxian was startled, and her hand involuntarily shrank back. Mu Xingchen hurriedly went forward and said, Rochuan, stop fooling around. This is Miss Qi. She has 8 levels of spirit lightning and can help you absorb all the lightning energy that's roaming around in your body. Mu Rochuan's entire body seemed to be soaked in sweat. She trembled and shouted with difficulty, No, don't let her come. She's here to harm me. She's Aba's friend. She's here to harm me. Qi Xuanxuan's eyes widened, and she couldn't help but yell at Mu Xingchen, Great. I didn't know. Did she say that about Jojo just now? If I had known that she was this kind of person, would I have rushed over? Who wants to harm her? Qi Xianxian roared and glared at Mu Xingchen with her bright round eyes. Big brother Mu, I respect you as Jojo's big brother. You said you wanted to help, and I didn't say anything. As long as you said the word, I would naturally help. What is this now? Mu Xingchen was naturally very embarrassed. He hurriedly apologized to Qi Xianxian, Miss Qi, I'm sorry. Don't be angry. Rochuan is seriously injured, and her mind might be a little muddled right now. Don't lower yourself to her level, okay? Confused? Qi Xianxian roared angrily. I think she's more clear-headed than anyone else. What the hell? My Jojo wants to harm her? Who did she think she was? Is it worth dirtying Jojo's hands? Miss Xianxian. Dou Fengmian hurriedly came forward to mediate. Miss Xianxian, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Miss Mu is also. Don't say anything. Qi Xianxian waved her small hand and scolded angrily. In the future, don't come looking for me for anything related to her. Do whatever you want. Whoever wants to come here and be scolded by her can come. Miss Xianxian. Dou Fengmian hurriedly dodged to block her path and sincerely pleaded, Miss Xianxian, Miss Mu is a seriously injured patient. It's not appropriate to argue with her. Who wants to argue with her? Anyway, it's her fault for scolding me, Jojo. Qi Xianxian revealed her sharp claws and sneered, Why don't you take a look at yourself? Who has the time to harm her? What good is there in harming her? Big brother, chase her away. Chase her away. This crazy woman. Chase her away. Mu Rochuan suddenly screamed in agitation. Chapter 3088. She's here to harm me. She's sent by Aba to harm me. They all want to harm me. None of them want me to have a good life. Ever since she returned to China, I haven't had a good day. I've been living in fear every day, afraid that she will replace me one day. Why did she come back? Why? If she didn't come back, nothing would have happened. Mu Rochuan screamed angrily. She picked up a cup beside her and threw it in Qi Xuanxuan's direction. Bam! The cup fell at Qi Xuanxuan's feet and shattered into pieces. Qi Xianxian raised her head and glared at Mu Xingchen angrily. Mu Xingchen, let me ask you. When she was in your Mu family, you treated my Chow Chow like this, didn't you? Mu Xingchen was momentarily stunned by the question. Your whole family scolded her for being unnecessary? Your whole family didn't want her to come back? Your whole family was fighting with her red eyebrows and green eyes? Is that right? Is that right? Qi Xianxian asked angrily through gritted teeth. Mu Xingchen. I'm asking you a question. Answer me immediately. Qi Xianxian shouted hysterically. Her eyes were spitting fire, and the veins on her neck were popping out. Miss Xianxian. Dou Fengmian hurriedly went forward to grab her arm. Qi Xianxian flung his hand away and said angrily, All of you outsiders, get out of my way. Mu Xingchen, answer me. I want you to answer me now. Qi Xianxian asked coldly. When Jojo returned to the Mu family, they were all in seclusion on Paradise Planet, so they didn't know the details. When they came out of seclusion, Jojo was collecting compensation here and there, so they felt that she didn't lose out. After that, they heard Jojo talk about it briefly, so they didn't know that there were so many details. Jojo was a person of few words. She would only talk to you if you asked her. Moreover, she would only tell you the good news and not the bad news. She probably wouldn't say a word about such bad news. Mu Xingchen didn't know how to respond to Qi Xuanxuan's question. Qi Xianxian glared at him. Mu Xingchen, why aren't you saying anything? She's superfluous. If she hadn't tried so hard to return to the Mu family, would so many things have happened to our Mu family? Ever since she came back, my father, mother, me, and big brother, none of us have been happy. She shouldn't have come back. Shut up. Mu Xingchen turned to glare at Mu Rochuan and scolded, What nonsense are you spouting? When have I ever been unhappy? Sure. Mu Xingchen, so this is how you act as a big brother. Qi Xianxian understood something and was so angry that her eyes turned red. Don't think that just because you're Jojo's brother, you can let her suffer for no reason. Qi Xianxian was so angry that her head hurt and her eyes turned red. She felt uncomfortable all over. Let me tell you, Jojo wasn't raised in the Mu family's courtyard since she was young. But she has parents and brothers who love her since she was young. She doesn't lack a single thing that she wants. She doesn't need any charity from the Mu family. Don't think that the Mu family is high and mighty. The people who want to love Jojo can line up from Du Chunjiang all the way to the imperial capital of China. Your existence is meaningless. Chapter 3089. When they were making things difficult for you just now, who was the one who asked me to come over? Mu Xingchen, do you really not understand, or are you pretending not to understand? Jojo didn't want you to be in a difficult position. She was always thinking of you, but what about you? What did you give her? You're just going to let this woman slander me like this? What kind of big brother are you? You don't deserve to be a big brother. Qi Xianxian kicked the stool at the door and turned to leave angrily. Miss Xianxian. Mu Xingchen panicked and called out, wanting to chase after her. Big brother, big brother. Mu Rochuan cried out in shock. Big brother, don't chase after her. Let her go, big brother. She's here to harm me, big brother. Stop arguing. Mu Xingchen pressed his forehead tiredly and looked at Mu Rochuan disappointedly. Rochuan, you've been so outstanding since you were young. The entire family has always had high hopes for you. But even so, you shouldn't lose your sense of normalcy. Ask yourself honestly, would Jojo really come to harm you? Mu Xingchen sighed and shook his head. Many times, it's indeed very difficult to admit that others are outstanding. But only when you admit that others are outstanding can you clearly see your own shortcomings. We can work hard, fight for it, struggle for it, and create new brilliance. However, jealousy will make you look ferocious. It will make you unable to see your own heart clearly. Big brother, what are you saying? Mu Rochuan's eyes widened as if she was about to die. She panted heavily and sobbed as she said, Big brother, I'm not jealous. Why would I be jealous of that woman? Why should I be jealous of her? Me? I'm the real eldest miss of the Mu family. I'm the pride of the family, my parents, and my big brother. I'm the future hope of the entire Mu family. Why should I be jealous of a village girl from a small mountain village in the lower star region? How can she compare to me? Mu Xingchen looked at Mu Roxuan with increasing disappointment. Is this what you really think? Usually, when Mu Roxuan didn't say anything, he really didn't know that she actually thought this way. Mu Xingchen expressed his disappointment in this younger sister of his. So it turned out that she had never accepted Jojo. She had always held on to that thought, hoping that Jojo would never appear, or even come back. Qi Xianxian was right. He really didn't know how to be a big brother. Have a good rest. Mu Xingchen glanced at her and turned to leave. Mu Roxuan shouted again, Big brother, big brother. Big brother, are you going to abandon me and my mother for that woman? Did you believe a bunch of lies from that woman? Big brother. Big brother. Roxuan, Jojo is my sister. This fact will never change. Mu Xingchen turned his head and stared straight at the pale-faced Mu Roxuan. I know there's some misunderstanding between you and her. I won't force you to get along with her. But I hope you can do one thing. In front of me, don't say things like that about my sister. Otherwise, I won't know how to face you in the future. Mu Roxuan's eyes were filled with tears as she muttered to herself, Big brother, you really don't want me for her. You really think that she's better than me. You think that she can replace me one day. You must all think so. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.